The Unite the Light Lightworker Summit is reborn in 2025, May 17th to the 19th, reincarnating in Nashville, Tennessee, the capital of country music life. If you live to make the world a better place, we invite you to gather and co-create for 2 days. Day 1, meet curated, heartfelt influencers sharing strategies and innovation. Day 2 calls for conscious conversations. Lightworker power panelists discuss industry urgent topics. And for the first time, you requested, we co-created a third day, a 36-hour, ultra-private, closed-door Whisper Summit. We call it Afterglow, where 2 or more gather, featuring high-wattage leaders of light who share unpublished career advice and trade secrets. It all takes place in the luxurious Gaylord Opryland Hotel, where you may enjoy a full spa, poolside drinks, and tasty dining. And don't miss our Honky Tonk Sumper and Step Networking event happening Saturday night. Wear cowboy attire, feast, and learn astro secrets about you and cosmic allies. Consider this an invitation. Let us celebrate our ascension at the brightest gathering of love in the world. Ticket sales are open now at unitethelight.love. That's unitethelight.love. Your step astrology this week, the new moon felt like a full moon on April 27th. A lot of people had a lot of emotion, a lot of breakdown. So what will the quantum full moon mean in Scorpio on May 12th? All that and more in this week's Namaste Today. Hello and welcome to Namaste Today. I'm your host, Sensei Christopher Witecki, and I want to say hello to all of you, our galactic family and earthly neighbors. Welcome, my friends. It's also my birthday. Today on May 9th, I am one step older today, and I'm here to help you get through life and get through the ascension, which is going to be starting right around the corner. We'll be talking about that. But we are currently streaming right now on YouTube, Facebook, X.com, Instagram, and even LinkedIn. If you're in our chat room tonight, please say hello to your brothers and sisters. Tell us where you're chatting from and what your astrology sign is. It makes for good conversation. This week, our top astro stories are, come Saturday, Mercury moves into Taurus. Thank goddess for that. That means we're going to calm down a bit. Nervous system will calm down a bit, and we'll get more practical about making things happen. On Monday, a quantum full moon in Scorpio. This will shatter the glass ceilings and the class ceilings that we have currently in our own makeup. We'll talk about that this week. And on Friday, May 16th, on the Unite the Light Eve, a 4-day astrological event, the Sun will conjoin Uranus, which will apex on Sunday, May 19th, while we're at the show of Unite the Light. Very exciting. But before we dive into those details, let's take a look at the week's moods and your zodiac weather. This zodiac weather ranges from Saturday, May 10th to Friday, May 16th, 2025. This week's zodiac weather is sponsored by Chi Organics. The Chi May the 4th be with you contest has now ended, and we have a winner. I'm happy to announce that Christina Noel Carter won our drawing for a free 1-hour reading with me. Congratulations, Christina. I look forward to our session, and thank you for supporting Chi Organics. Moving on to the zodiac weather forecast, as we take a look at the weekend forecast, we understand that we're moving to the mastery level for Taurus, which is the difference between abundance and just revenue. Let's drill down. On Saturday, it's partly cloudy and protecting. Step 20 indicates that the moon rules the day, and the moon is in Libra than Scorpio. That means you'll experience a feeling of openness to a feeling of closed down or perhaps protection. The I Manifest mantra is, I manifest emotional security. The title is, I invest and succeed because I love and trust myself. And here's also a good thing. Early in the morning, Mercury enters into Taurus, so it all will make logical sense. Shifting focus now to Sunday, which will be Mother's Day in the United States. Sunny and fortifying. We have moved now to step 21 Taurus, where it starts to get fun. The moon is deep in Scorpio, so safety and privacy is an issue. The affirmation is, I manifest new investments. The title of the day is Signing Heaven as My Partner. That's because Venus is still conjoining Neptune in the bottom degrees of Aries, giving you a physical strength backed by a heavenly force. Now let's zip ahead and give you a sneak peek at the 5-day weekday forecast. Over the course of the upcoming week, we start with a transformational full moon in Scorpio, and in the week on our knees praying to God that we are on the right path. On Monday, it's sunny and a little dizzy. Step 22 indicates a lot of confusion. Uranus rules the day. You may find that you have two different feelings you want to chase after, not sure which one is important. The moon at full status is in Scorpio, giving an intensity to the day and causing for things to be split apart. The mantra is, I manifest a holy shift. Indeed you will. And the title of the day, Staking My Claims for the Future. The full moon will apex at 12:55 p.m. Eastern Time, and then shortly after, nearly an hour, Mercury will square Pluto retrograde, meaning your mind will have to reconcile with whether you independently believe in yourself or not. On Tuesday, it's sunny and believing. Steps 22 to 23 makes this sort of a no-show day. You'll be ruled by both Uranus and Mercury. The moon will be in Scorpio, so you'll feel a little defensive and things are changing, and then move into Sagittarius, which means the other part of the day will be philosophy for how you are changing and why. The mantra is, I manifest blueprints, as you are now mapping out exactly what may happen next. And the title of the day is, Approving Plans for the New Reality. Indeed you are, getting a sign-off from your entire self. On Wednesday, it's sunny and comprehending. Step 23 means you now have Mercury ruling the day. Mercury is focused on knowing what to manifest. The moon in Sagittarius offers a variety of philosophies and ways to think about it, or schools of thought. But the mantra is, I manifest concession. The title of the day is Adapting Ideology for Success. It sounds like you're called to drink the Kool-Aid. The good news is, with the Sun sextile the North Node, whatever flavor you pick that evening is probably the flavor of choice. Then on Thursday, it's partly sunny and imaginative. Step 24 is a resting and receiving day ruled by Venus. So you're opening up to accept your current trajectory and feel through whether or not it can happen. The moon will cross the galactic center early in the day, which means your heart will be subscribing to a new path or life story. But then the moon moves into Capricorn, shifting the energy to more solid and serious, feeling into yourself as to whether you have the responsibility inside you to pull it off. The mantra is, I manifest grace. And the title of the day is, The Mission is Underway. Enjoy the ride. And then on Friday, it's sunny and proficient. Step 25 means that Neptune in Aries rules the day. God consciousness, compassion, and all sorts of other energies from heaven are pouring onto the earth. The moon is in Capricorn, so despite the spirituality, you feel solid and you feel like you're part of business. The mantra of the day is, I manifest allegiance. And that allegiance is, of course, to your higher self. The title of the day is Stepping Out of Operational Comfort Zones. You'll be doing things you've never done before. And the Sun-Uranus conjunction begins at this time, which will lead to a powerful transformation on May 18th when the Sun conjoins Uranus, where those who are watching or attending Unite the Light Nashville, Tennessee might experience a spiritual miracle as the lightworkers of the world are joined in light. Before we dive in, I have an announcement to make. We've all worked so hard on our team to get Unite the Light going and to continue with our normal programming and our normal Series Joy programming that we are announcing as of today. We'll be going on a 2-week hiatus with Namaste Today. Now, ASTROMINGLE will still be here, but we will be off the air here in Namaste Today, May 23rd, the Friday after, and May 30th, the Friday after that. Our team has worked so hard, they deserve a break, and we need it. Now, I know what you're thinking, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I need to know the astrology going on. Well, I will be making posts actually in our Unite the Light Circle. Unite the Light Circle is actually a community that we have, which is something you get access to for a year when you buy a Unite the Light streaming ticket. And that's where I'm going, of course, the streaming tickets. Be a part of this event. Be a part of the change of history. And as you probably know from something I posted recently, we have a very dramatic time coming up. We have, starting in mid-June, probably one of the toughest times Earth will go through. This is a time where if you have interest in making the world a better place, this is the time to unite. This is the time to connect. This is the time. Otherwise, once the chaos begins, it may be difficult for us to network like this. It's very important. If you feel even a tingle in your heart right now, you need to be a part of this. Trust me. Trust me, you need to be. There's some things we won't say until we're at the event. There's some things we will not say until we're behind closed doors. What I'm saying is we can't say everything on these social media platforms. And so if you want on the inside, you've got to get access to it. And we're trying to be as affordable as possible and make it easy for you to access year round. So if you buy a purchase streaming ticket at unitethelight.love, you'll have 1 free year at Circle. You'll be able to see the astro updates I do for the next 2 weeks while I'm on hiatus, and you'll have access to the entire program. There's so much to see and do. Take a look at what we have up there. It's incredible. Unitethelight.love. That's unitethelight.love. Speaking of that, I want to say a special thank you to our master sponsors of this event. People have gone out of their way to help this be a better event for us. First is Lisa Coltman, and the second is Jessica Watson. We could not have done it without you, and we're so grateful. And I'll say that in person and give you a big hug too. So thank you very much. All right, friends. Well, given that, I would say that if you're watching on YouTube, please be kind and do subscribe. Hit the bell button so you're notified. And if you're watching on any other platform, please at least leave a comment or interact with it, because that allows us to jump up in the algorithms, which is always a struggle these days. All right, let's dive into the content, shall we? Let's take a look at the week's planets and transits. We're in the month of beauty outshining chaos. That's, of course, the month of Taurus. And I have to say, I don't feel very beautiful, but I certainly have been working through the chaos. That chaos that you're feeling is actually the fact that we are going through a major timeline shift. We had a new moon not too long ago, about 2 weeks ago, and that new moon was the introduction of a new spiritual story. I've talked about it for a long time, I mean years. The story you're born to versus the story you're born to live. And it turns out the story you're born to is actually probably an ancient timeline, as we're learning from our psychics and mystics. And it's probably also an alien timeline, another starseed timeline. So it's interesting. But the point is that when we had that new moon, it was incredibly intense. We thought it felt like a full moon, our staff, because so much emotion came up, so much conflict. It was almost like the universe was, making you finish your plate in the last, 10 minutes of the transit. And so what's normally a very quiet and easygoing time was incredibly difficult. So it kind of begs the question, what will this full moon be? Now, if you watch our Mega Monthly show, which is actually free to everyone in the world, it comes out once a month with Robbie Hunt, my co-host, you would know kind of what's going on. Overall, what's happening is we have spent the whole year changing the trajectory of our future. And this was always intended, always fated. It began really in Pisces when we came to closure with our old story, our damage, our trauma, forgiving and forgetting and that sort of thing. And then Aries, we had to do like a hardware upgrade, because this new version of Earth is going to require more in-depth, high-definition ego. We call it the we-go. Then we moved into Taurus, and for those first 7 days, we had to install a new value system inside of ourselves that would value us in the new world, value us in the new story. That wasn't either. So I think a lot of the difficulty was the fact that we ultimately still didn't know how to value ourselves. We had some rude awakenings about where we were not valuing ourselves. And I think in some cases, too, we had some, people or relationships in our life that had to be cut with the Earth and Scorpio, because that relationship itself sort of brought the worst out of us, or at least did not allow us to support ourselves. So, that was intense. And you can't imagine it being any harder than that. But it may, because we have a full moon coming up. That full moon is coming up this Monday. It's going to be at step 22 Scorpio, which means that it's going to be a quantum full moon. What does that mean? It ultimately means in astrology, we know when it hits 22, an event like that, you must first know that the moon itself is the number 2. So a full moon is the biggest 2 you can have. So a big step 2. Now, when you have step 2 at step 22, Oh, Lord, you've got yourself a quantum moment there. Quantum meaning that many things can change in your life overnight. Up to 4 things can happen simultaneously. And you can find that parts of your life blink in and out of consciousness. I know that sounds goofy. Wait till you go through it. Now, I don't think we've ever been through anything like this before on Earth. This may raise some sort of a moment, some sort of a headliner moment where there is something global that happens. It is in the 3rd decan. So therefore, it is something that will affect the entire world, in essence. And what's happening privately is that your feelings will have changed about the future. Now, your feelings probably already have changed, but it won't be backed up by a full moon that's quantum at step 22 in Scorpio. Let's also remember that Scorpio is the energy of death and transformation and taxes. So be careful. Make sure you paid your taxes and filled out all your extensions. But ultimately, it means that you might have felt like the future would go one way, and now you realize the future will go another. And those choices are pretty complex also, because it could be that you did not do the work, and so your future will be a repeat of what you've already lived. So one more round the clock with your old feelings and your own karma. For those who refuse to grow, you will find yourself in a difficult place because the world will have moved on, and you'll have to still do the work the world has done. So I don't recommend it. I don't recommend repeating anything you've done before. Not anything, okay? Secondly, you could have the direction of going with a new way and a new feeling. And this new feeling would be divorcing yourself of all the old, making no compromises with the old whatsoever, and just dedicating yourself to this new. The third way would be a hybrid way where you add up the past and you add up your hope for the future and you dynamically transform into a new direction. And that's probably where many people will go, because I think many people had calculated the future that they thought they were on based on their old karma. And so the new way that you knew it is no longer new. By the way, we're calling June the new. We'll talk about that later. But the new is around the corner, and the new is like something new in our life that we always knew. And so it's sort of paradoxical, and that's how Gemini is going to be. Very paradoxical. We'll talk about that, especially in the megas. But what it means for you is that to get through this full moon, you have to really, first of all, be neutral in your feelings. So you want to, upon this Monday, Sunday night, be really neutral in your feelings about who you are, be neutral in your feelings about what you're worth, be neutral in your feelings about old enemies or old situations, because a lot of people are still kicking and screaming, trying to make the old way work. I have situations where I'm not answering my phone, I'm not taking text messages because people want to egg on that fight or that conflict. They want to keep it going. In many cases, if you're a light worker, they're feeding off of your responses. And so you have to just go neutral, cut that stuff off, and really enter the full moon period very neutral about who you are and neutral about what's to come. What that does is offer all the opportunity for you and none of the deficit. Then as we go to the apex of the full moon in Scorpio, which will be, by the way, 12:55 p.m. in the United States on the East Coast time. That means that on Monday, during our workday, we'll have a transformation between 12:55 and probably 1:20 or 1:30, I would say. Let's give it maybe 40 minutes, 45 minutes. And in that time, if it hasn't happened already, you may have a major shift in how you feel about something. However, that pressure is so intense, and in the energy of transformation, Scorpio, that there may be events outside of you that influence you. This is why you have to remain neutral, because there will be situations where someone may go too far. They may try to push the situation. They might use their ego to push. And if that's the case, you have to remain neutral as they're coming at you or coming at the world. And then as we move to the new moon, we have to ask ourselves, where do I belong in the future? It's possible that you belong somewhere you don't even know. And if that's the case, you would just say, I belong happy, I belong this, I belong that, and create the intention of belonging in that direction. By the way, I'll just go ahead and plug my soul sister, Kristen Ryder. We have a new series called Moon Wisdom. And so on Series Joy, we have a already recorded guided meditation for the apex of the full moon. So if you're a subscriber, go on down and take a look at it. If you're not a subscriber, good time to sign up, because there's going to be things that are going to be pretty bumpy going forward. But that full moon is the turning point. That full moon will ultimately shatter some sort of emotional expectation you had for the future. And so this means that you will no longer feel attached to a certain outcome, maybe something you've been working on forever, but you'll feel that you want something new. In this case, this is why we say that this week is really about staking our claims for the future. We're going to ultimately say, emotionally, we want this and not that. Emotionally, I belong here and not there. And to do this, we're going to have to surrender to the cosmic flow. We have to go neutral, kind of go limp, and allow the universe to guide you to that place, not force the situation. One last thing is the question of the week. And the question is my discomfort over something keeping me from seeing ease? So in other words, there is a path of least resistance. There's a path God universe has created for you already for this to happen. Actually, your higher self created the path before you were born. And so this is really about whether or not you will open up enough to possibly feel that there's something you haven't considered. And I would say for most citizens of the earth, it's something you had not considered, or something you considered but brushed off a long time ago as silly and impossible. So let's take a look then at how it's going to unfold. First of all, I want to do the week real quick. We will do step 20 tomorrow. So we reach master level. Things get very emotional. Then on Sunday, we hit step 21. New opportunities open on Sunday. New hope, new intentions. This is where you'll ultimately start to feel an alternative narrative you had not known. And then we have on Monday at noon, the step 22 quantum full moon. By the way, that's followed by Mercury squaring Pluto literally an hour later. That's a huge square. That's a change of mind. It could also be an intellectual ultimatum. On Tuesday, it's step 22 and 23. Now, by the way, that step 22 lasts a full 24 hours. I have to say that. It's a full 24-hour. So it's really like 24 hours and like 30 minutes. This is one of the longest step days of the year. So sometimes a step lasts longer than a day. It just so happens that the full moon quantum 22 lasts longer than a day. That's kind of crazy. So on the following day, on Tuesday, we start with step 22 and quickly go to step 23. That's where you'll understand and you will know where your future lies. So give yourself until Tuesday to know where your future lies. Then on Thursday, it'll be step 24, where we're manifesting grace and we're feeling where we belong and we're kind of letting go and letting it happen. And this is sort of the position you have to take between then, which is Wednesday, all the way to Monday, May 19th. Now, of course, I will not be here for Namaste Today at that week. We will not be here for Namaste Today on the eve of Unite the Light, which is Friday. Well, yes, we'll have this, actually. That'll be it. Actually, I'm getting confused. So we will not, we will have the guidance for the aftermath. However, we won't have the coaching in that moment and for the next week and how to do it. So my point is you want to, if you're not going to Unite the Light, you're not going to be part of it, then you want to basically set things up to where you're going to feel neutral, you're going to feel where you belong, and you're going to let the universe carry you, let the winds of the universe carry you to what will happen. What happens is over the weekend with Unite the Light, we will have, in fact, 2 steps. The step on Saturday will be step 26, where we devote ourselves to where we want to go. And then magically on Sunday, we'll have step 27, where the sun will conjoin Uranus. That's a big deal. It's a quantum deal. It means our whole heart will be taken to the new promised land, basically. I know what that looks like. I've never lived it in my lifetime. But I do know that there'll be no turning back. And for those who go to Unite the Light, I think it'll be such a cosmic event. It'll be in your memory forever. Now, that said, quickly, starting with the sun. This week, the sun goes from 20 to 25, as I mentioned, mostly the master degrees. It ends on the night of this air. It ends at the end of the week at step 25. So basically on that Friday, the eve of Unite the Light, we're sort of in spirit. We're sort of calm. We're checking in with our guides. And we know that we have to now surrender to our faith and surrender to what we know. Uranus moves from 26 to 27 this week. So we are devoted, and then we go. And we go on Sunday, the Sunday of May 18th. And that Sunday is going to be, of course, the second day of Unite the Light. But also that Sunday will be the sun conjuncting Uranus. And so you'll have the fusion of your heart's desires and innovation. And then this week with Mercury in Taurus, I'm so grateful it's in Taurus. It starts at 29 degrees, but then moves into Taurus. And by the end of the week, we'll be at step 9, one of my favorite steps, of course. So the mind is sort of building the building blocks or the plan for how to manifest. In Aries, there's still a lot pouring out. Neptune remains at step 1. The I love state of awareness is the golden ray energy of creation and unconditional love. So we have just a pouring out of unconditional love happening. It's there for you. It's there for you to love yourself. It's there for you to ascend yourself to a higher level. So if you can't access unconditional self-love and you can't access unlimited love from God consciousness, then you have something from your ego blocking it. You are still fighting, you're still resisting, and you are, sealing your own fate in that regard. God Universe has certainly devoted itself to this cause with Neptune at 1. Venus goes from 6 to 10 Aries this week. Then we're going to open up and start to accept this new inner promise of how we'll treat ourselves and how we'll reply to ourselves and how we'll act with ourselves, which sets us up for our success, sets us up for our new era. And Chiron's at a smooth, steady step 24, which is healing the story and the relationship we once had to the future. Now, if you have a wounded relationship to the future, which might have gone back all the way to Atlantis, Chiron is healing that now. You're going to have this new hope, this new possibility, where you might have doubted that life could turn out good. I think that will go away. I think you'll feel at least optimistic of its possibilities. Now, in Pisces, we're starting to wrap up these spiritual stories. Saturn moves from 28 to 29 degrees Pisces. Now, 29 Pisces is a test of every spiritual lesson you have learned. So that means you have to be the authority and do what's right for you, do what's right for your karma, do what's right for your God, whatever you believe spiritually. The North Node moves from 26 to 25, which is interesting because, of course, we have the sun going from all the way to 25 and then 26 at the same time. But that means that now the consciousness is moving towards fate. And so by the end of this week, we're now on the path of fate. We're on the path of what we agreed to before we were born. And that means our intuition is our guiding light. Your mind will not know what to do. Your intuition will. And so you have to learn to listen to your feelings and surrender to what you're told by your higher self. Now, the moon over the course of this week is a little intense, frankly. Starting tomorrow, we move from Libra into Scorpio. Libra does give the energy that we have today of wanting to sort of calm down and find good relationships. So Saturday, we're trying to find where that balance point is. Of course, at the same time, we are moving into the step 20s and above, so we're feeling sensitive. Then the moon will move into Scorpio that late Saturday, and by Saturday night, you'll be feeling like self-preservation, trying to trust yourself, trying to protect yourself. We've seen that protective bubble on Sunday, Monday, and half of Tuesday morning. And so as we are basically expanding with 21 and then 22, the whole quantum 22, we have that full moon in Scorpio. We are literally transforming our life by drawing boundaries of what we will feel and not feel. So the actual, let's say, mechanism of being able to change the world in your world, your own perspective, the future, and everything, really comes to what you allow to have happen to you and what you allow to affect you. In essence, what I'm saying is the magic here, friend, is to put some walls around certain feelings and protect them. Don't allow yourself to be swayed. Don't allow yourself to be influenced. I don't care how many times that person's tried to upset you or the situation has upset you. You must not allow yourself to spend any emotional energy on that old world. Instead, focus your energy on the feelings that you want in the future. So then Tuesday night, the moon moves into Sagittarius, where we then begin to know, wow, the story is changing. My story with myself is changing. Wednesday, oh my God, the world's really changing. Oh my goodness. And then going into, Thursday afternoon, again, things are changed. And now I'm heading for a different galactic center. I'm aiming for a different completely direction than I thought I ever would be. What's interesting is this all happens, this transformation, before Unite the Light. So at Unite the Light, we're going to have an ability to basically meet people after the transition. And I'll be asking a lot of people in person, like, what happened this week? How did you change? Then moon goes into Capricorn, on Thursday night and into Friday. And that means that we start making some emotional decisions, maybe difficult ones, in order to cut away from the old and embrace the new. In Scorpio itself, it's important to say that Black Moon Lilith moves from step 4 to step 5 Scorpio. Now, Black Moon Lilith is where we have our worst fears and nightmares, and they come from past lives. They don't really come from this one. You may, if you're an older person, older as in approaching your second Saturn return or 60, you may actually have some things this life that will come up as memory, as the sort of echo of your personal fears. And so ultimately, you want to realize that this is fear and fear alone. And the two big fears you'll face is, one, I don't know where I belong with myself. I don't know if I can love myself to get there. I don't know if I can be there for myself to get there. So fears around being there for yourself, supporting yourself, having to do it alone. A lot of codependent relationships are ending. And then when the Black Moon goes to 5, at that point, fear of that going crazy, fear of your mind not understanding, fear of you not being able to handle the change or transition. For those who have mental health issues and are unstable, I'd keep an extra eye on them when Black Moon Lilith goes to 5, all right? Not a good degree for Black Moon Lilith. Now, we should talk about the contrary to this, which is the love in Leo. In Leo, we have Mars, our ego, and Mars, our ego, is moving now from step 9 to step 12 Leo over the course of the week. That means you have the ego, the energy, the activity energy to basically respond to yourself with love. You have the activity energy to respond to yourself with love as you enter into your world, as you expand your potential. Mars is well out of its shadow period. And so this is the new me-go in the sense of the new we-go of loving ourselves and also having agendas with the world. This is also going to be a lot of love vibration going higher. In fact, I love that right before you Unite the Light, Mars is at step 12, which means we're now just going to a Jupiter level on what love can do when it's connected to each other. Another thing to notice is Jupiter. Jupiter in Gemini moves from step 23 to step 24 Gemini over the week, leading up to the weekend. The great thing is that 24, Jupiter is set up to where your mind is now willing to accept a future that feels where you belong. So your mind is along for the ride thanks to Jupiter. And Jupiter's also introducing concepts and things that you may not have thought about. And this is at the master level. I think also community is important. And also interacting with people is important. So we'll really set this Unite the Light up perfectly. But Jupiter at 24 does mean that the program is set, the new thoughtware is downloaded, and now it's time to just hit start or restart the computer. Lastly, I want to talk about the South Node and the North Node. Ultimately, Saturn wraps up this transit. The North Node's at 26 to 25. I talked about that. So 25 is the Grandmaster step of Pisces. That means that we are, in fact, moving forward now with our new spiritual mission. But the South Node between 26 and 25 is a little different. At 26, it will mean the collapse of authority. So you may lose your authority somewhere. If that's the case, you're meant to move on. You may suddenly disrespect authority in your life. We're talking about leaders and politicians and things like that. And what will happen is by your response to the authority or the issue of authority, you'll then retreat to 25, which is letting antiquated spiritual beliefs go. So antiquated spiritual beliefs could be the fact that you feel like you have to confess, or you have to, that you're a sinner. Like a lot of really negative control that has come from organized religion will sort of have to be forgiven and let go of. So we can't move forward, unless we let go of those old beliefs about spirituality. And I can't help but think that the Pope passing is an interesting timing. And then lastly, we have Pluto in Aquarius. Pluto has station retrograde. That means as of last week, you must do the work and the due diligence to protect your belief in yourself. That means that you may feel attacked. You may feel that your own self attacks you. You may feel your family attacks you. Or you may just be you sitting there doubting yourself. You cannot. You have to decide, do you believe in yourself or not, and then close the conversation. Any space or time or energy you give to the possibility that what you believe in is false will create that reality in a very rapid way. It'll probably attract the wrong event for you in the full moon. And so it's vitally important that you protect your belief in yourself. If you decide you believe in yourself, then do not even sway 1 second. Pluto will be at step 3 for some time going forward, by the way. And this means that we're going to have to protect our belief in ourselves, and only we will be the ones to do it. The angels won't do it for you. The universe won't set you up. This is where you're ready to fly now, friend. So put those boundaries up and don't sway with your opinion of yourself. All right, so that is basically the week in the consciousness. But of course, we want to know, how does it affect you? Let's take a look at our soul horoscopes.
Remember the sacredness of your body within every moment. Expand courageousness and joy within every breath. Through martial arts, music, breathwork, fascia movement, mindfulness, and play, Soul Within Flow guides you to express freely while grounding deeply. Discover the art of being.
We were told the world works a certain way. Chase success, play the game, follow the rules. But what if the game is rigged? What if your power was never really lost, just misplaced? Soul Capitalist isn't just a book, it's a wake-up call, a roadmap for reclaiming your power and rewriting your story on your own terms. Because changing the world doesn't start with a movement. It starts with you. It starts with creating a world that reflects your highest self. Soul Capitalist is a guide back to your truth, a call to awaken your inner power and lead from the light within. Soul Capitalist, how to take back your power and change the world. Available now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble.
The world is starting to catch on to human design. But what is it? Through combining astrology, the I Ching, the Vedic chakra system, and the Kabbalah, human design provides you with action-oriented strategies to align with your unique energy.
Are you tired of the same old thing? Register today to get a code for 25% off a human design report or a free report with the purchase of a session.
Welcome to the rest of your life. Welcome to human design.
Coming to Unite the Light Nashville, your favorite Serious Joy cast members and executives join the group of esteemed Unite the Light presenters as they deliver powerful mini-segments that propose innovative solutions in their respective fields of expertise. Take away insider industry tips, consider new perspectives, and connect with the possibilities. In-person and live stream tickets are now available at unitethelight.love. That's unitethelight.love.
We're back with Soul Horoscopes. This is where we go into depth about what will happen for each of the 12 signs. And as you probably know, we're not cutting these out anymore. We're keeping them in the main file, but we're putting timestamp dates, links where you can jump to that part. So if you want to take a look at your horoscope anytime after we're live with this show, you can always easily come back to YouTube or wherever you watch it and click to watch. Now, that said, I do want to say special thanks to certain people. One, our staff at Serious Joy has done an amazing job during the pressure that we've had over the few weeks. I mean, this has been a very difficult time to create stuff, especially to lead the world when you're having to face all of your stuff inside and do all the processing. I don't think people realize how difficult our job is because we have to also do all the soul work that everyone else does and guide, which makes us all very exceptional light workers, and we're proud. And I just want to say I'm really proud of everyone at Serious Joy and proud of everyone that's working with us and everyone at Unite the Light. We are so grateful. And I will say that we have a change of plans for Saturday night. We're now going to have our first Board of Light meeting on Saturday night at the event. This will be a meeting that you'll only be invited to if you purchase a Board of Light membership. I can't talk about it all now. You have to check the website for details. But the Board of Light is a Congress of Light that we're creating that will allow you to have a vote towards where we go next with Unite the Light, but also where we go next as an industry. We have lots of things to talk about, and I hope to see you in that private stream, which goes live on Saturday night. So it's going to be quite the summit indeed. Now, that said, lastly, don't forget to buy your streaming tickets. If you buy a streaming ticket, you do get that full year of your circle. You can network with other light workers, and in that circle, I'll be making posts about the astrology to the circle group. So my staff will be off, but of course, I will be, to some degree, still working. Now, that said, we will be moving forward now with our soul horoscope, and what I want to bring up with this particular one is a couple of topics. One is the Sun and Mercury in Taurus. So in Taurus, the Sun at 22 means that your plans to manifest will move to a quantum level also. You'll let go of that glass ceiling. In other words, you'll let go of something that inside of you was holding you back. So I can never be on camera. I can never do this. I can never do that. Well, they say never, because there can be a quantum full moon that changes all of that. Sometimes the things that we resist is actually what we know we have to do in this life, and so we're resisting it for most of our life because we know it's coming, all right? But we hide that from ourselves. I think this quantum full moon is going to allow us to release something, but also means we must embrace something. It means we must reorganize our construction plans for reality. As the sun crosses Uranus, we will then transform the way we innovate and the way we see our values going forward in our innovation. And so by the time we get back from Unite the Light on Monday, Tuesday, depending on how long you stay, we will realize that life is different. Life has different goals. That's one reason we're taking those 2 weeks off, because I think everyone's going to be scratching their head going, whoa, what was that? Now, that said, I also want to talk about what the full moon literally will for each of the 12 signs, where the full moon will help you release, where you're shattering your glass ceiling. And then we want to talk about how Mercury squares Pluto retrograde, which is going to be on Monday. It's right after the full moon. And what that square means for you, it means you're going to have to resolve any conflicts between 2 areas of your life. So I'll talk about that. And then I'll quickly just mention what you'll be working on as the sun goes into Gemini while we're on our hiatus. So with that said, let's start with our Aries. Aries, you are, my friend, having a quantum full moon in the area of transformation and intimacy. So you might have been avoiding change. You may be avoiding intimacy. You may be avoiding the unavoidable, okay? And if any sign can do that, that's you. I mean, you are the strong one. You are the one first in, first out also. But you're also the one that has the strength and determination of the ego behind you. And so I think that you have perhaps used that strength to prevent yourself from changing. Maybe you said, I'm too old. Maybe you said something to the effect of, it's too late. Or perhaps you said, that was too ambitious for what I once wanted. And so that sort of glass ceiling will be yours. You set that ceiling. And as a result, you were unable to manifest wealth. That's right. You heard me. That the ability to manifest wealth is actually inhibited by whatever ceiling you have on life. So never say never, because the universe says you're going to have a new belonging when it comes to wealth. Now, I will say, I believe wealth in the sense of abundance is necessary to graduate Earth. The whole point of Earth is to come make magic and make things happen. So there's no real humility in being poor, and there are no rewards in heaven for having done so. You have to, at some point in your life, transform and make something happen, something impressive, and we review that in heaven. After all, we're all in a dream right now, imagining this moment. The last thing I'll say is that after that full moon, where you shatter your limitations and you embrace a new definition of abundance, You then will have that square with Mercury and Pluto, which means that your mind will have to adopt a different feeling or a different thought about about wealth itself. You're going to have a wealth realization in your mind. At the same time, that has to be reconciled with where you think you belong in the world. So what we're saying here is you may belong somewhere that will bring you better money, but you're ignoring that calling. You're ignoring that call. And perhaps you don't believe in yourself, in which case you have to double down on those Pluto boundaries. So lastly, after that realization, we coast into next week, and the universe launches you. And after that, you move into Gemini, which means while we're on hiatus, you'll be looking at how you talk to yourself and whether or not it's appropriate. Taurus! Happy step birthday, Taurus. Actually, happy step birthday to me. That's actually yesterday. Today's my birthday, so I've been so busy, but I'm my best this time of year, so it's probably good that I plan stuff like this. But, for Tauruses, you're going to have a glass ceiling shatter when it comes to marriage and partnership. What you will marry and not marry, what you will align with and not align. I think probably being at Unite the Light will be where I experience this, where I will realize that the possibilities of partnership are now tremendously different. And they're different because, and necessary because, your approach to relationships and agreements and divorces and marriages, that whole long-term thing, is keeping you from being the brightest star that you really are. That Tauruses have allowed relationships to interfere with their legacy, their character, and what they're here to do. Now, I know we had good intentions, Taurus. I know I did. But even I have realized in the last couple of weeks how, in trying to help others, I have stepped on myself. So this is a quantum full moon for Tauruses because they're the big investors in life. And so that means that Tauruses will be pulling out of investments, particularly with people, as a means of preserving their character and their future. Now, that said, very afterwards, that will give your mind a new idea of who your character is and who your character isn't. But that characterization of yourself must be reconciled with career obligation. In other words, you must realize that your career and where you're heading is a big part of your character development. And at this time, because it's unproven, you must believe in yourself and you must protect that belief in order to get to the destination. While we're on hiatus for 2 weeks, you'll begin to look at your self-worth and your thoughts about your self-worth, and then your productivity and your ability to manifest. So the first 2 parts of Gemini is really downloading the new thoughtware that involves your new self-worth and how you'll spend it in creations. Alrighty. Gemini! Gemini, your quantum full moon is going to shatter limitations you have put on your lifestyle. Maybe you said, I can never own a home. Maybe you said, I can never own a business. Maybe you said, I can never live outside the country. Never say never. Something is going to shatter that limit that you put on yourself and allow you to then, on the other side with the sun, have real connections to God, universe, and have a real sense of flow and support from the world. So you will probably have to take a leap of faith, ultimately, in the sense that you say to yourself, okay, maybe some solutions in life are not visible. Maybe they come from the invisible. Maybe it's time I have faith in God consciousness and in my higher self. And so ultimately for Geminis, this will mean that you do have to surrender and let God universe show you. This is where you do need to pray, you need to open up, surrender your ego, and see where the universe takes you. But it involves something breaking apart in daily life. And I would say to all Geminis, if you are fired or dismissed or laid off or quit, that would be something I would expect. Because if you're holding on to a lifestyle that doesn't serve you, it will definitely be shattered on that full moon. Now, with the Mercury square, your mind is going to have a new idea about who God consciousness is, a new possibility of what you can talk to, not talk to. And with Pluto squaring that, it means that you have to reconcile your belief in yourself with your faith in yourself. So in some cases, you fail to believe. In some cases, you fail to have faith. But if you get both of those correct, you'll both have faith and believe in yourself. Then, in the hiatus, when we come back, we'll be in your birthday period. And this is going to be quite a birthday, I have to say. I mean, probably the most intense birthday year you've had in a long time. It's because Jupiter will be leaving your sign, and that you'll be now moving Jupiter in Cancer. And so you'll be ultimately rebooting your software and thoughtware and running a new program come your birthday. So a lot of changes for Geminis. Take a good look in the mirror. You won't be the same. Cancers! Cancers, you are going to hit a quantum full moon when it comes to your personal dreams. Your heart had said, no, it's not possible. Not me, not this life. God doesn't like me. My family doesn't like me. Whatever. You've had sort of like, your heart has thought, I probably won't ever find true love. I probably won't have my dreams come true. I mean, most Cancers I know have been putting it that way, that they just sort of felt like it wasn't in the cards for them. And so you have to know that that was your own ceiling you put on yourself. Ultimately, it has to be shattered. Something will show you that, yes, you can have the love of your life. You can have the dreams you always wanted. But that is, of course, for the purpose of really shifting your social ambition. You are here for another reason. You are here to do more than what you've done. I think it's great that you've done a lot of caretaking, and even in your codependent relationships, which you've had a lot of, you've come to learn and understand how to heal others and how to be there for others. And I think society is saying, hey, it's time for cancers to stop enabling narcissists. No offense, but you do quite often because you're so compassionate and kind to everyone. And instead, go ahead and have compassion for yourself. Take your care and see where you're needed in the world. I'll tell you right now, the world needs cancers like crazy because people don't know how to nurture themselves. So I think you're going to realize that you no longer are going to have your heart go a certain direction. That's the glass ceiling. And that frees you up for your real calling on earth. Now, that square that happens means that you'll be mindful of a new belonging on earth. You'll be mindful that you think you belong somewhere else. But that has to be reconciled with your boundaries. So ultimately, Pluto in Aqua is in the 8th. And so you're going to have to really believe in yourself, trust yourself, believe in your ability to draw a boundary and enforce a boundary. And from that belief, you'll start to really see, or think, we should say, what you can be in the world. So if you're finding yourself having a hard time biting off what you've declared to be in the world, it's probably because your boundaries need to change with yourself. You need to evolve those and see what's possible and trust yourself. Trust what you believe about yourself. All right, I'm going to take a drink now. Thank you. Alrighty, here we go. Leo! Leo, you are having something shatter in home and family. So growing up, there was a certain ceiling about security. Maybe it was that you would never have security, or never have a home, or never have a family, or never have kids, or it would always be toxic your whole life. Maybe you have stayed aligned to your families even though they are toxic, and you put yourself in that radiation just out of loyalty. But some sort of boundary you had put up is going to shatter. It's going to allow you to realize that you belong in a different sense of belonging in your home and family, in a different definition of what security is. And so Leos are going to sort of realize that now they're not obligated to certain notions they had growing up. They can, in fact, do the career that they want. So the Sun in Taurus says that you'll now be free to explore the provocative, innovative, powerful and interesting, unique expressions in your career, because now you don't have to worry about certain security. Perhaps you were insecure because you allowed yourself to be, not because you actually were. Kind of head trip. So be paying attention to what falls apart in home and family. And for God's sakes, don't go chasing after someone, complaining or whining. Your job is not to nurture them. Your job is not to be there for them. Your job is to be there for you, because you, after all, are a star, and you have to be the one that shines. So you have to make you the person that ensures that it shines. Now, that said, the Mercury square with Pluto says that your mind will have a new outlook on self-discipline, what to think, what to do in correspondence to your objectives. But that has to be reconciled with your mirage. In other words, you will not be able to achieve your career goals, or even what the glass ceiling shattering shows you, if you are not believing in yourself all the time. You have to have this undeniable, unwavering belief in yourself that cannot be affected by anyone else, or your reputation, or your social media. And in order to do that, that will be, if you do that, that will be what allows you to think outside the box when it comes to self-discipline, and probably find a path of least resistance to your goals. Now, when we come back from the hiatus, the sun will be in Gemini, and for you that means you'll now explore where you truly belong. You've been working on the potential of belonging in different places, but the sun in Gemini and Jupiter graduating, you're going to realize that there's a real possibility that where you belong is something you had never thought of before. So I think it's going to be exciting. I think Leo's going to have new claims in the world. I think they're going to really find their place energetically. So good luck with that, Leo. Can't wait to see what that is. Virgos, your full moon is shattering the glass ceiling with intellectual property or attitude. So you have not let your mind go there. Why? What were you concerned about? Why was there a cap on your thinking? Why was there a cap on your attitude change? Why was there a cap on where you express yourself in life? So this would be an example like you might have thought you could never be a writer or a published artist, or maybe you never thought you could be on camera, but you were wrong. It was based on where you were at the time. So I think that full moon shatters that sort of intellectual limits you put on yourself. And what that does is allow you then to get closer to your life purpose. In fact, part of what's going to be, I think, driving this is Virgos and Virgo risings are going to realize that their purpose is greater and better than they once thought. In fact, I think if a lot of your purpose was based on your pain, and that's probably the first mistake, but I also think that a lot of your purpose wasn't close enough to loving you. And so this will be a reinvention of your life purpose, because the ceilings have shattered when it comes to a certain way of thinking. To put it more simply, your thinking was keeping you from your purpose. Now, the next day, as Mercury squares Pluto, what this means is that you will have to realize, first of all, that your belief in yourself is strong. You do believe in yourself, and let your mind take that on. Once you do realize you believe in yourself, then you have to reconcile that with your certain idiocracies will say when it comes to health or the body. So this suggests that you have a hard time in your mind living in your legacy because you're not living in the moment in integrity. And in the moment, you're not necessarily living in a healthy way. Or in the moment, you're not necessarily believing yourself by default. So if you have a hard time with the moment, realize it's because it's time to believe in yourself by default, okay, with your moment and how you are. Now, that said, when we come back into Gemini from our hiatus, you'll be then working on a revised direction for your career. Once you find this purpose, the next logical thing is, where do I express it? And so for those first 2 weeks when I'm gone, you'll be thinking through self-discipline and thinking through where you might see yourself in career or legacy. All right. Libras. Libra, you are having a transformative breakdown when it comes to your definitions of abundance and distribution. So you might have thought you could only so far in your career, only so far, from your town, only so far because of something about you. You might have misjudged something about you. And so you subconsciously put limits on what's possible as far as wealth, abundance, etc. Now, Librans are one of the most likely to give up that American spirit, let's say, of making lots of money because you've always been so fair. But how often have you been unfair to yourself? How long is that going to happen? And do you really think the universe would expect you to be unfair to yourself in order to be fair to others? If you have to be unfair to yourself to be fair of others, with all due respect, you're operating at a proficient level, not a master. So a master will both have their cake and eat it too, and they'll find that you can find that same sweet spot for you as well. All right, so I would say you want to go that direction if you can. Now, with that said, it's important to know that you might have a bit of a conflict, if you will, when it comes to your ability to let go of old dreams. You're going to have to reconcile that, you've had a lot of strength in holding space and keeping things from falling apart. That's Mercury happening in the house of transformation. But at the same time, you might be having a low frequency as far as how much love you deserve. You might be not really believing yourself in your heart. You might have an inner child that's still afraid that you can't get what you want in life and you can't manifest the things that you hope for. And so as a result, you're going to have a transformation where your mind adopts this policy that you do believe in yourself, you do believe in your purpose, you believe in what's possible. But at the same time, with all that believing in yourself, you're going to have to open up and give your inner child a second chance. Allow things to have a second chance in life. And forgive your parents, for Christ's sakes. Okay. Now, we come back from this hiatus, you're going to be working on belief structure. I think you're going to move into a space where you understand what you know, and you realize that you're transforming what your purpose is and coming up with a new strategy. So it's going to be very exciting, and I'm excited for you. Scorpio! Scorpio, this will be an intense one for you because it is a quantum full moon in your sign. The breakdown of your ceiling is in what you will do, what you'll be. So you've had limitations you put on yourself as far as your character, what you're known for, your response to the master level. I think basically Scorpios have sort of kept themselves from a certain direction because they were probably afraid of the past repeating itself. But in reality, you have greater potential than you realized. So you'll have some sort of glass ceiling as to who you are and who you're not, right? And what that'll do is then make way for what's really happening, which is an innovation in personal relationships, long-term partnerships, and long-term alliances. So you're going to innovate your alliances and your relationship approach to a new level. You're going to realize my wife or husband doesn't belong here. They belong here. This partnership doesn't belong there. It belongs over here. And so this reorganization of what your heart longs for in relationships will come out. And that's only due to the fact that you went ahead and put the kibosh on some sort of rule you had about who you are or who you aren't. So I think for you, this will be a very transformative and powerful transit, probably the most powerful moon of the year. And I say that because it's quantum, and it's because when you come out of it, I don't think you're going to recognize yourself anymore. So Scorpios kind of hold out for the last minute, and then they change really fast overnight. Now, that said, once you have that quantum realization of, what your character is not known for, and then secondly, therefore, where do your relationships belong, you also have to clear your mind between this sort of thing. Your mind will be on top of relationships, on top of this new way of thinking about relationships, and particularly a new way of thinking about your marriage. You'll realize that you must always be mindful of believing in yourself, but that's to reconcile with issues about feeling good. You have to keep your belief in yourself really solid. You can't keep your feelings about yourself to go anywhere else. And so otherwise, you're going to have to sort of innovate your beliefs about self-nurturing, your beliefs about feeling better, in order to let that mind go there with relationships. Because I think to some degree, like all of us, you've lived codependently. And so as a result, by pulling away that toxin or pulling away that toxic relationship, you're the only one left to take care of you. And that's the whole point, that you must think of yourself first and your passengers or the people you help second. Now, when we come back with the Sun in Gemini, you'll be working on trust issues. So The Sun in Gemini for you is how you trust yourself, what you tell yourself, and therefore, by trusting yourself, how much risk can you take? How much can you merge with another person? Now, out of everyone, this is your rock star part of you. This is the part you know best is boundaries. So I don't think Scorpios will have an issue with boundaries, but I do think that you'll have an issue when you start drawing them and the world resists. And do expect them to resist. I'm sure it's going to happen. So ultimately, I think it's going to be an interesting time for you, and I can't wait to see you when I come back. Sagittarius. Sag, you are now going to have a quantum shift in the ceiling you put on as far as your closeness to God. I think Sagittarius has been kind of a little bit of a, reluctant to become one with any religion. I think you're afraid of surrendering to God. You're afraid of surrendering to any belief structure. And so as a result, I think you've had a glass ceiling as far as what's possible with your relationship to spirit. And that was probably practical and necessary at the time, but you're going to realize is that it's not serving you. You're probably not connecting to higher self like you want to. And so you're going to have to change your boundaries or your limits you put on how close you get to God. It's not a religion. We're talking about God and creation itself. What that does is then free you up for what's really changing, which is a lifestyle transformation. This could be a time when, in the old days, a Sag would probably leave their family and join a guru, go do a pilgrimage somewhere. Suddenly realize that they found Jesus. That's common with this kind of thing. But you have to know that it's only because, you were able to let go of your perception of God that will allow you to now find a new lifestyle or a new way of performing. So once you have a new faith, and that's because the old faith shattered, you now have full ability, I should say, to change your life as you see put. And so I think that after the full moon, not only will you revisit your connection to God, you'll also rewrite what you plan to do in your life. So Sagittarius might be moving also or trying new things because they freed themselves from their issues of faith, fear, and karma. Now, that means that right after the full moon, you will have to reconcile two things. One, that it's time to believe in yourself in the moment. It's time to believe in your health. It's time to make your health a priority. So believe in your ability to stay healthy and stay well. That's important. But that has to be reconciled with certain attitudes and thoughts you have about yourself. You can be really dark to yourself. You can really go low vibration in your self-talk. And so you're going to have to upgrade at the same time the way you look at reality and the way you are in the present, and also the way you are presently in your mind. By changing those, I think you'll find you're in good shape. Now, that said, when we come back from hiatus, the sun will be in Gemini, and so you will have explored 2 weeks of your relationship to yourself and how you treat yourself, and starting to dive into your relationships with others. So Sagittarius are going to have a major relationship upgrade and realization when we come back. All right, Capricorns. Capricorn, you're going to have your ceiling shatter with the full moon when it comes to social ambition. You have kept yourself from what you really want. You've done probably the safe thing. You've probably done the safe investments in society and kept it safe, but you're going to realize that where you're heading currently when it comes to society and your place in the world is not what your heart really wants. You don't feel like you're attracted to it anymore. You don't feel like you belong there. Now, what that does is give you work for what it's really about. It's time now for you to pursue your personal dreams. I call this area the serious joy area of the chart. It's the third decan of the fifth house. And so I believe for you, you're going to realize that your dreams are much greater than you have ever admitted to yourself. Your hopes for love are much greater as well. Perhaps your relationship to your children or having children is a much greater possibility than you once thought. And so by pulling out that social ambition you put yourself under, allows you then to go after and pursue your heart. So this is a liberation. This is a full moon that's going to bring you what you really want. And because you resist change altogether, I would surrender and go limp and let this happen. Just be clear on where you belong. Now, the next day or later after the full moon event, you're going to find that your mind now does love yourself and has to believe in loving yourself. You really have to be programming your mind to love yourself all the time by default. But that square to Aquarius means that for that to happen, you have to also believe in your worth. So you will not be able to make this transformation of love and manifestation of personal dreams if you're not really honoring how much you believe you are worth and honoring the walls that come with that. So you have to really learn to protect your belief in yourself. And that belief in yourself protected means that you are valuable, that you have the ability to manifest money, and that you will control your self-worth rather than give it away. Now, that said, when the sun goes into Gemini, when we're gone, this means that you will inevitably realize that life has to change. You have to reorganize things. You have to live your body differently. You have to look at your health differently. And as a result, you're heading for a different destination of lifestyle. So this is one of those transits where literally, I think, a lawyer Capricorn decides that they want to be musicians. They're not going to try to be lawyers anymore in society. They're going to put their dreams over their personal wealth. And at the same time, they'll be in a complete reorganization of life. All right. Aquarius, my Aquas. Well, first of all, you have a full moon, quantum full moon, when it comes to career legacy. You had put limits on what is possible, on your destiny, on what you really wanted. Perhaps you weren't honest with yourself. Perhaps you thought we would never let Aquarius go there because you guys are weird. So you have certain concepts and emotional attachments that keep you from going what you really need to do in your career, your legacy. What is going to be the gift you give the planet? Once you kind of let those expectations of yourself shatter, then the sun in Gemini, sun in Taurus will give you a realization that, hey, for these dreams to happen, you're going to need a much more quantum and fulfilling home life. You're going to need to have much more nurturing than you once thought. You have to really put energy into your feelings and having a good tone all the time of feeling good, feeling gooder, all right? And for that to happen, it probably meant that you had to shatter your approach to, something in your career so that you can really feel solid about home, family, and security. Now, once you shatter that career goal and see where you can go, you then will also realize that you have to reconcile your thoughts on how you feel with your ability to actually love yourself. If you believe in yourself, you will love yourself. If you believe in yourself, you'll protect yourself. If you believe in yourself, you will not sabotage yourself. So Pluto at 3 degrees Aquarius is literally the part of you that lives true to your belief. And you know what? What makes Aquarius interesting is what they believe. They believe stuff that we don't believe. They're here to be a leader. So you have to lock down and decide, I believe in me, and so it is, and move forward. Now, when the sun goes into Gemini, this will be a change because now, with all that set foundation in place, now you can actually step into what your heart really wants. I don't think Aquarius have been honest with themselves about what their heart wants. I think now that Jupiter's moved through the space, the quantum for you in Gemini will be your dreams will come true. More on that when I get back. And then lastly, the Pisces. Pisces, you're going to have the glass ceiling shatter or the glass class shatter when it comes to a life purpose. You have said your life purpose is one thing, but having it be this other, I don't know if that's possible. You put limits on what you believe. You put limits on how much effect you can have. But you have to know those limits were placed when you were doubting yourself altogether because you, out of all these 12 signs, have the most karma. Whenever you're Pisces, you kind of put off your whole life to clear all this karma. So the truth of the matter is that you can do anything you want now that your karma has been shattered. But what this does is allow you to change your mind. Out of all the signs, Pisces is the most fertile when it comes to thinking. And so you have had limited thinking because you've had limited perspective on what your purpose is. Once you have an unlimited purpose, you then have unlimited ways to think about it and do it. It might be that you were holding back on being a messenger or being someone who creates intellectual property. But once you have, again, that full moon, you realize, I'm possible. It's possible for me. I think I can do it. Now, after that happens, you're going to have to reconcile your mind with Pluto, which means that you're going to have to realize that you have to believe in yourself no matter what. Your mind cannot think anything else. Because if you can't believe in yourself by default, then Pluto, which is in your 12th, will not allow you to have faith in yourself. So what this is basically saying is that your attitude about yourself and your life is what determines whether or not you have faith or not. And so if you don't have that determination, especially in your mind, then you will find that it's hard to have faith with the big miracles and the big strange things. So you're reconciling basically the way you think to yourself, the way you talk to yourself, with whether or not you believe in yourself to a point of having faith in yourself or not. Probably a tougher one. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some sort of a conflict that leads to the conclusion. Lastly, with the sun moving to Gemini, when we're in a hiatus, it means that you're going to spend the hiatus now realizing that you have to have a strong family foundation. You have to have strong emotional care. You have to have a strong attitude with your thoughts to feel good and feel grounded. And so I think you're going to realize that indeed you have to reconcile and go ahead and surrender to that faith in yourself and believe in yourself by default. And that will allow you to have that open mind and that clear, peaceful thinking. Now, when the sun goes into Gemini, things will be a little different. This will be, of course, when you focus on your home and foundation, you realize that all this nurturing is going to be necessary for you to get to that goal, as I just mentioned. And the other thing I think you're going to realize is that home is not what you thought it was. Because now that Jupiter's through the space, the idea of home and family is probably something of your creation. And that allows you to go on that purpose and adopt that new attitude. So Pisces, I think we'll see a lot of change on the inside, but we won't probably see the actual changes until Cancer. We'll talk more about that later. All right, friends. Wow, we are here. And this is not your average year. This year, we do need to come together. We need to talk and discuss what our options are because, as I'll put out with a special video, our fate is in our hands. We came here to take over at this point. And you may not feel ready, but God thinks you are. So join us. Let's have this conversation, and let's unite our light because the world is expecting us. All right, friends, that's all we have for tonight. We'll be back next week on the eve of Unite the Light. I'm excited. Don't forget to get your streaming tickets at unitethelight.love. Following that, we'll be off for 2 weeks. We'll talk about that and remind you next week. In the meantime, remember that we love you and to live, love, be.
Coming up on Sirius Joy TV. Leading Out Loud is now prime time. Join co-host Sensei Christopher Witecki and psychic medium Scott Cruz Wednesday nights at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Every sign has a purpose in the new era. What's yours? Only on Sirius Joy TV.